Hello everyone, how are y'all doing? My name's Raikar and in this video we will talk about the project's breeding system. So, without further ado, let's start! So, when the second generation of Pokemon came out, we were introduced to Pokemon breeding, Pokemon X, and the concept of baby Pokemon. In order to obtain a Pokemon egg, you would need to have a male and a female Pokemon that were in the same egg group, and let them stay at a daycare for a while. Each Pokemon belonged to at least one egg group, with some even belonging to two different egg groups, meaning that egg groups are the category used to determine if two Pokemon are compatible to breed with each other or not. Pikachu, for example, belongs to the fairy and field egg groups, while Rattata only belongs to the field egg group, and the fact that both these Pokemon belong to the field egg group means that they are compatible to breed. In Pokemon, the species inside the egg is determined by the species of the female Pokemon, while the male determines the egg moves that they are born with. Egg moves are the term used to describe moves that Pokemon can learn only via breeding. For example, the only way to get a Pisu with the move Disarming Voice is by having a female Pikachu breeding with a compatible Pokemon that knows the move, like a Clefairy, in order to result in a Pisu with the move. A very well-known exception among the Pokemon community is that Ditto can act as a neutral breeding partner to all Pokemon species capable of breeding. That is, Ditto can be a male or a female Pokemon of any species due to its transformation powers, making it the most versatile Pokemon when it comes to breeding. An interesting aspect of Pokemon breeding is that all Pokemon species capable of reproduction via breeding seem to lay eggs instead of some of them giving birth like it happens in real life with some animal species. Canonically, Pokemon eggs have many different color schemes and patterns to match the Pokemon inside them. But in the games, they all look the same, with a few exceptions like the Manaphy egg, the different kilometer eggs in Pokemon Go, and the Pokemon eggs that appear in the Pokemon Snap games. Oh, and I guess the huge eggs that we see raid Pokemon coming out of also count as literal eggs. And to end the breeding in Pokemon subject, we have to address genderless Pokemon. Genderlessness is mostly exclusive to legendary and object-based Pokemon, with some other exceptions like Ditto, Phalanx, Starmie and the Porygon line. All these Pokemon have their reasoning for being genderless, with most legendary Pokemon being treated as deities, Starmie line being based on sea stars, who in real life are species that reproduce asexually, and Pokemon like Magnemite being object-based. But even though genderless, some of them are actually capable of reproduction, with legendary eggs being something canon in the franchise, even if they might be directly created by Arceus, just like we see happening in the Sinzo ruins, and the regular genderless Pokemon being, for some reason, capable of breeding, but with Ditto only. Now let's discuss how will breeding work in Talysmon. The first important thing to point out is that regular Talysmon are going to be able to be found as male, female and intersex, with some species of Talysmon being entirely intersex like Dampuru, due to them being based on sea-slugs who in real life are species that can shapeshift into both sexes. For those who don't know, intersexualism is something that can also occur in regular animal species that normally aren't intersex, with intersex animals in this case being the term used to describe animals that are born with both male and female sexual characteristics. The way that intersex Talysmon will work when it comes to breeding is pretty similar to how Ditto works in Pokemon, with them being able to breed with either male or female and also other intersex Talysmon, only having to be compatible by being in the same species class, which brings us to the next topic of this video, species classes. Species classes are this project's equivalent of Pokemon's egg groups, and in summary, two different species of Talysmon can breed if they belong to the same species class and meet certain body-to-egg ratio criteria, with some exceptions to this rule. For example, both Cinderaptor and Gekko are reptiles, and both Pinglux and Sparky are avians, meaning that both these duos are compatible for breeding despite them being different species. But due to Sparky being roughly the same size of a Pinglux egg, a female Sparky would not be able to lay a Pinglux egg, only a Sparky one. while a female pinglux would be able to lay eggs of both species. Next, let's talk about cross-species and species variants. So, what are cross-species and species variants? Cross-species happen when two different but very compatible species breed, resulting in a new species that has characteristics of both initial Talysmon. In real life, the most common example of a cross-species is the mule, the result of a horse and a donkey breeding. In real life, crossbreeding can be a little controversial, as the chances of an animal being born with some kind of genetic problem is a lot bigger than with regular breeding. But in a fantasy project like this, I find it to be a fun concept to explore. Then we also have species variants. Species variants are far more simple than cross species, as instead of being completely new species that are a mix of the two parents, they consist in a talisman that belongs to the same species of one of the original parents, but has some characteristics of the species of the other parent, making it a species variant. Like cross species, in real life species variants can also be a bit controversial, as some breeds of cat, like the Munchkin, are very appealing for their cute short legs, but these difficulties walking due to this characteristic. But due to cat and dog breeds being something much more common and in most cases inoffensive depending on the breed in question, it is far more or less controversial than cross breeds. Concept-wise, cross-species and species variants are something amazing, but in a video game they could be something harder to implement, as new cross-species and species variants would mean more animations and art assets in general, which would increase budget costs. But if I only include a few of these in the game, then I believe it's pretty doable. It's also important to mention that not all Talysmon lay eggs, with some instead giving birth just like some animals do in real life. Now, to end the video, I would like to talk a little bit more about Talysmon eggs. Unlike Pokemon eggs, Talysmon eggs are going to come in many different shapes and sizes, depending on their species, to better reflect how in real life animal eggs can also be found in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Just like Hornshark eggs are very swirly and fish eggs are very small and round. I'm going to follow the trend of eggs having diverse and creative patterns that fit the creature inside them, like Pokemon does, as that's one of the favorite aspects about Pokemon eggs for the monster taming community, and my favorite aspect as well, while also having the different shapes as a more unique aspect for the Talysmon franchise. And for now that's it. So, what do you think? Don't forget to leave a like and to comment if there's any feedback that you would like to give. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing, as it helps the channel grow a lot. Share this video with a friend if you know any that would be interested in this type of content. And that's all. As always, thanks for watching and see you on the next one. Bye!